Hey, this is Matthew, and welcome back to Nerd News Today, and it's time for another statue review. And this time for you guys today, we've got another piece from Diamond Select, and this is part of their Marvel Gallery diorama series of PVC figure dioramas, and this one here is Agent Venom. I know there's a ton of fans out there who love Venom, there's a ton of fans out there who love the Punisher, and in a lot of ways, Agent Venom is kind of the best of both worlds. We're kind of getting the whole gun-toting thing, the symbiote thing. There's a lot going on with the statue, and yeah, I'm super excited that Diamond's done one of these guys here because this thing looks pretty sweet so far in the package. Now, how is this guy out of the box? Well, we're going to see that in a few moments, but first things first, let's talk about this box here. The Agent Venom packaging has a black and white color scheme that essentially represents the Venom logo, the Venom symbiote logo that you see on the chest of pretty much anybody who has the Venom symbiote. You're not getting the exact shape of it, but you're more or less getting the elements of it, and that would be those lines, and that would represent the legs of that Venom logo. It's pretty simple, but it's pretty stunning because black and white, of course, they always pop, so it looks pretty good right there. Like all of the Diamond Select Gallery diorama pieces, the packaging has a ton of windows. We got a really nice big window on the front. We have 2 windows on each side so you can take a peek into it. And of course, there's always a handy dandy diamond sunroof. The back of the box shows a picture of what the statue is going to look like, and we also get a pretty decent bio about Agent Venom. It lets us know who he is, a little bit of his origin story. These bios typically don't go into too much about storylines and that kind of thing, but it actually tells you just enough to get you an idea of who this character is, what you need to know about him, and boom, you're off to the races. This statue was designed by Caesar and sculpted by Alejandro Pereira. And those two guys have done a lot of work that we've enjoyed in previous videos, so I've got some pretty high hopes for this. And again, just from my initial reaction of seeing it in the box, I think this is going to be a pretty strong piece. But really, there's only one way to find out. So let's go ahead and bust this Agent Venom out of the packaging and take a look at him from all angles. And we're back, and here's our Agent Venom now, all out of the packaging on display here. This is a pretty striking piece. I'm not really a person who read a lot of Agent Venom, but I have read enough to get an idea of who his character is, what he's all about. And I feel like this is a pretty strong representation of who Agent Venom is. And I gotta tell you also, just looking at it from right now, this first initial glance, it's a very good looking piece. It doesn't even look like it's a PVC statue. They've really gone out of their way to make this piece look very stunning here. And yeah, this is going to be a good one. Oh yeah, I can already tell you guys. So if we're going to discuss likeness, there's really nothing to discuss because, well, he's just wearing a face mask and it's very smooth. And generally speaking, yeah, Venom is a pretty smooth looking character. The symbiote is really kind of meant to look a little slimy, a little shiny as well. So yeah, nothing really to discuss there. So everything else is going to be what's important here and how we create shapes, form, and mass. So I think I'm just going to handle this basically as we start from the top and work our way down. So I'll start with the shoulder pads here, which you can see mimicked as well in the gauntlets and the knee pads and a little bit of the boots too in the shin area. So that's adding a lot of texture to a piece that is otherwise going to be pretty smooth looking and not that visually interesting to look at. But this stuff here, it's very silver, but it's a dirty kind of silver. It adds a little bit more luster to the piece. And I like this how it kind of counters the smoothness of the rest of the piece here. Point being the chest of Venom now, we can see here, which, you know, normally wouldn't be that exciting, wouldn't be that interesting to look at, but they've added some tone here with some gray paint that helps kind of push out the muscle mass, makes it look a little bit better, makes it look a little bit grittier too, because you know, if this was just basically Agent Venom, but pure white like we have in these shoulder pads, it'd be really too clean, I think, and it would pop too much. So adding the gray here helps create the shapes of muscle and also pushes it back in space a little bit. Now this gun that Venom is holding, that is a really cool looking gun. I wouldn't mind a toy that for some 12-inch figures. Really nicely done. You know, we've seen guns on some other characters before too, but this one in particular just looks really nice. Like, this reminds me a lot of the guns we saw actually in the John Wick figures. It's kind of like that same quality, same paint job also. You know, when Diamond does firearms, they do them really well, whether they're fictitious or based on something out of reality. And whatever this gun is here, you know, I don't really know if it's real or not, but it looks pretty convincing and it's a good looking weapon. So yeah, hats off to them. Now, as I turn it, you can see he's got some pouches as well. And that's a different shade of gray too. You know, everything here has been black and white, but we've also had some of these gray tones of the silver. Now we've got just more of a lighter shade of gray. That's also mirrored here in the holster on this side and the holster on this side. You can see it better from the back too. I think it gives us a better look at the whole piece, in fact. You can see what I mean again about the toning and everything for the muscles in his shoulders there. And because Venom is kind of just so plain in that regard, they're letting texture and different paint applications help to make this piece pop. And now from this angle, we can actually see what I'm talking about a little bit better with that, because you can see that this is not really such a dark black as it is just a darker, deeper gray. And the deeper black is actually in these parts here, here, and in the arms, where we've got a much more jet black shade going on in there. Much darker, but also much shinier. So Diamond's doing something very smart here. That's playing with the different types of black, because, you know, there isn't just a plain old black. Black is not black. There are many shades of it and many ways to work with it. And Diamond here is really pushing those blacks to the limit in this piece. So we already talked about these knee pads a little bit and the shin guards, everything like that. Great texture, really nice. Boots also, pretty cool. But what I do like also, we haven't really even discussed that much, is the pose and the anatomy of the piece here. So, you know, anatomically speaking, this is a very buff Venom, but he's not like Eddie Brock Venom. This isn't like the giant hulking mass that we're used to seeing with Eddie Brock from, like, let's say the 90s, or even today. He's still pretty huge. But this Agent Venom here is a lot leaner, a lot slimmer, much more battle-ready in that regard. And you get that from this pose because, yeah, he looks really muscular and in great condition. His legs are huge and swole, that's for sure. And he is a pretty thick boy, but we're not talking like ginormous thick boy here. It's kept to, I don't want to call it realistic proportions, because at the end of the day, this is a former football player wearing an alien symbiote costume. But for what it is, I think they've done a great job of creating realistic looking muscles and a realistic looking body out of this piece. Now finally we get to the very bottom here, and that's the base. And this is a gorgeous base. This is, you know, I've talked about a lot of bases in videos in the past and how I've liked them or if they're real or not. This is probably one of the best bases I have seen this year. I mean, we've seen plenty of rocks. You can look at all of our archives to see any bases that have rocks. I feel like at least half of the videos we've done with diamond statues have had just a plain old rock base. But this time around, they've gone really the extra mile here, and they've painted these rocks up like crazy. I can't believe how good these rocks look. I know it's silly to say that, and it sounds weird to hear, but it's true. I mean, there's so much different tone going on in these rocks here. You know, this rock is one color, this rock is another color. The base that he's on here is like a different, darker color too. There's a lot of detail that actually went into this base, and it's really kind of throwing me off here. I didn't expect to see that much detail in this base. And it's a lot of color too. It's a lot of pops of brown and this reddish terracotta brown color in the bottom too. So it does help kind of lead the eye around also, because for the most part, Venom has the same problem that the Punisher has. And that's one pop of color right here in the chest where the logo is. Everything else, not so much. But the way, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that they're using the blacks really helps to make the eye move around and make this work as an all-around piece. And same thing with the base, because really if we were to desaturate the base colors here, we would have something that kind of mimics what we're looking at with the rest of the statue. This will be a darker tone, this will be a little bit, this will be actually much brighter, this will be a little bit brighter, and it's kind of balancing from this shape to that shape, from this black to this black here. This is kind of the gray tones in the chest, so, you know, it's actually working really well. You just kind of have to use your imagination a little bit and pretend this is a black and white piece, and you'll see exactly what I mean. As for that paint job, this is also pretty clean, but there are a few spots I noticed that were a little rough. You can see actually in the chest here, it looks like there's a thumbprint or something that happened there. And I think I saw something else in the back too. Like, yeah, this is a little bit not great. It looks like it got a little bit clunky and overpainted. There's a little kind of like dust looks like stuck to his face. It looks like that happened when it came out of the factory because it's like sealed in there. So if I want to get that out, that's going to have to happen off camera. Hopefully I can. But otherwise, it's pretty clean. Not the cleanest we've looked at, but overall nothing to really like tell me not to buy this piece either. But I would put the caveat on that to, if you're going to buy this piece, try to get it from a local comic book store or order it from a place like Amazon where you know that if you're unhappy with it, where you can easily return it or exchange it for another statue of this Venom or a different piece entirely. But for my money, this is a really strong piece. I really am digging this one a lot. I don't have a great connection to Agent Venom, but I thought it was a really just interesting piece to have. You know, we already saw Punisher come out earlier this year, which we did review on this channel too. And this version of Agent Venom is almost like a better Punisher than what we got with that Punisher piece. And I like that piece a lot too, but if I had to pick one between that one and this piece here of Agent Venom, I'm going with Agent Venom. And to be even more complimentary about it, I could see myself adding this to my top 10 of 2020. This is a really good piece here. Even with the stupid little thumbprints that are in this piece, I love all the texture, the paint job, the muscles, the entire look of this piece. And that base too really adds the extra mile for me. I think this is a really very excellent piece, and if you're a Marvel collector, this is a must-have. Even though it's a character that I don't think is like super duper popular right now, but it's going to really stand out. I don't think there's going to be that many more Agent Venom pieces in general, or at least for quite some time. So yeah, I definitely give this one a very high recommend. And if I do a top 10 this year for diamond pieces, don't be surprised when you see this guy somewhere on that list. So if you want to pick up this Agent Venom for yourself, why not use our Amazon affiliate links in the description below? It helps us out and costs you guys nothing extra. And as I mentioned earlier, if you get this piece and decide that you don't like something about it, they're also pretty easy to deal with in terms of exchanging pieces. And let me know what you think about this Agent Venom. Is he a top 10 piece for you too so far? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. And of course, as always, don't forget to give this video a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to us because we've got all sorts of statue content, and we've got many other things in this channel that you're going to really like. So until next time, I'm Matthew, this has been Nerd News Today, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.